Rich Arab girl brings black boy home, what he sees in her necklace froze him at midnight. The night air crackled with an electric tension, thick enough to cut through. Stars blinked down, as though whispering secrets only they knew. Jamal, just 16 and already navigating a world he barely understood, stood on the doorstep of a mansion that screamed wealth. He'd never seen a home like this, golden walls and shimmering marble floors, with the whispers of the elite dancing in the shadows. It was beautiful, intoxicating, and terrifying all at once. As he stepped inside, the eerie silence swallowed him whole, only punctuated by the distant tinkling of laughter from an unseen gathering. His heart pounded half in fear, half in an uncontrollable thrill. And then, from the corner of his eye, he caught a glint of something extraordinary. The girl, Aisha, had the most incredible necklace he'd ever seen. It sparkled with jewels that caught the light in wild refracted bursts, each facet holding a story. But it was the centerpiece, a deep, dark emerald, that seized his breath. "What do you think?" Aisha asked, her voice soft but teasing, as if she knew the power it held. Jamal's fingers twitched near his side, longing to reach out and touch the cool chain that hugged her neck. It seemed alive, humming with energy, fraying at the edges of his understanding of reality. The deeper he stared, the more he felt like he was being pulled into a vortex of mystery and ancient stories. What was hidden in that necklace? Why did it feel like it was more than just an accessory? In the back of his mind, he heard whispers, the kind of rumors swirling in the small-town air about Westerners and ancient magic. Was it just his imagination, or was the necklace breathing? It reminded him of a fable told around campfires, tales of cursed treasures and choices leading to dark paths. His stomach churned, and a thrill of fear danced down his spine. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Jamal's mind raced as he watched Aisha move closer to him, the necklace swaying gently like a pendulum. Was it just the light, or were shadows flickering around him as her movements created ripples of unease? The laughter from the other room grew louder but felt increasingly distant, as if they were in another universe altogether. He felt like he was teetering on the edge of something monumental, a choice that could ripple across time. Would he reach out? Would he uncover the mysteries hidden within that necklace? As he stood frozen, the air thick with unseen pressure, the question loomed large. What would happen if he found out what lay beneath its surface? Would he emerge enriched, or would he become part of a tale darker than night itself? Aisha's eyes seemed to draw Jamal in, the emerald glinting like a lighthouse beacon in an ominous fog. His breath hitched, caught somewhere between awe and fear as he stepped toward her, his heart pounding like a drum in a silent parade. The laughter erupted again in the distance, but this time, it felt sinister, almost mocking, like an echo of warnings he had yet to understand. "What's it made of?" he asked, the words tumbling out of him before he could rein them in. Her smile widened, but there was something eerie in the way her lips curled. "It's ancient, a family heirloom. They say it possesses powers," she said, coaxing the air around them to thicken with meaning. And yet, despite the mysterious allure, a knot of uncertainty twisted in his stomach. Was she playing a game? Or was it all too real? Aisha moved closer, the necklace swinging like a pendulum, casting intricate shadows on Jamal's face. Suddenly, the icy gaze of a man in a tailored suit flickered across the doorway, his attention sharp and unsettling. Jamal felt a jolt of electricity shoot down his spine. Who was that? "Come. You have to meet my family," Aisha exclaimed, her voice brightening as if she had forgotten the weight of the moment. Yet Jamal hesitated, glancing back at the suited man, whose penetrating eyes held secrets of their own. With a hesitant nod, Jamal followed Aisha into the heart of the mansion. The barriers of wealth faded, replaced by a feeling of strangeness that gripped his legs with tension. The room exploded with chatter and laughter, voices swirling like trapped fireflies, but even within the crowds, Jamal felt isolated. Jamal. Aisha's voice cut through the noise. She beckoned him toward a long marble table, lavishly adorned. Dishes of food he couldn't name sparkled under the glow of crystal chandeliers. "This is my family." As he was introduced, he forced smiles while his mind spun with questions. But all of it faded when a sudden hush fell over the gathering. Jamal turned to see the suited man rise, his gaze locking onto Aisha. "Isn't it time for the unveiling?" His words cut the air sharp and biting, like frost creeping in. Jamal's heartbeat thundered. What was unfolding? Aisha nodded slowly, excitement mixed with dread brewing in her eyes. "Yes, let's." She chirped, but Jamal saw the flicker of fear that quickly masked her enthusiasm. The man clapped his hands, and the lights dimmed, leaving only the glow from the necklace's emerald at the center of the room. As Aisha reached for the pendant, the other guests leaned closer, anticipation thickening the air. Expectation hung like velvet. Jamal felt a sudden chill as a sense of unease settled over him. In an instant, he wanted to turn and run from it all, but Aisha's eyes captured him again. In one smooth motion, she unclasped the necklace, holding it above her head as whispers danced along the walls. "This is what makes our family special, a power beyond comprehension," she announced, her voice wavering. As she spoke, Jamal's eyes widened. He could have sworn the emerald pulsed with light, echoes of a heartbeat thumping through the air. Was the room holding its breath? Suddenly, the light flickered, and with a crack, a shadow broke free from the darkness, swirling around the necklace. Jamal gasped, taking a step back as the atmosphere shifted, a storm brewing as fear churned within him. "What is happening?" he shouted, his voice lost to the chaos that surged forth. "Stay with me, Jamal." Aisha's urgency pierced the air, but that fear lingered, thick and suffocating. Then, with a blinding flash, everything went dark. As Jamal struggled to understand what had just happened, a cold, chilling whisper brushed against his ear. "You have a choice to make." The darkness pressed in closer, enveloping him in uncertainty. Could he choose wisely? Or were the fables true? Jamal's heart raced in the darkness, thumping like the beat of a war drum. His surroundings faded away, swallowed by the weight of nothingness. Breath hitching, he clawed at the shadows. Everywhere he turned, he found only the chilling air, wrapping him tighter, insistent and mocking. "Hello?" The sound of his own voice echoed, twisting in the void. It was a desperate call, yet it felt futile. Aisha had vanished, along with the vibrant throng of her family. He strained his ears, hoping for a response. Only silence replied, its ominous nature tightening with every second. Then, a single beam of light pierced through the dark, illuminating a figure hunched in the corner. The man in the tailored suit from before, outside the doorway, now had a sinister gleam in his eyes. "You've stumbled into a reality far beyond your imagination, Jamal." A chill crawled down his spine as the man's voice seeped through the shadows, smooth and icy. "This isn't just a family heirloom, you see. The emerald is a key, a gateway. And you, my friend, are part of the ancient pact." "Pact? What are you talking about?" Panic surged within Jamal, shaking him. The darkness was coming alive, every corner seemed to pulse with unease as he fought his instincts to flee. "The necklace binds us all," the man continued, his smile growing wider. "It connects our souls and our fates. But only if one understands the true meaning of its power." Fury ignited in Jamal. This was madness. Was Aisha merely a pawn in this high-stakes game? "I don't want any part of this," he shouted, desperation filling his voice. "Let me go." The man laughed, a sound that cut through the oppressive silence. "Run if you dare, but every choice has its consequence." "Are you ready to make a choice, Jamal?" A life of ignorance or a life of power? Choose wisely before it's too late. At that moment, the ground trembled beneath his feet, and Jamal felt a magnetic pull toward the emerald. His gaze locked onto it, and it flickered in tandem with his racing heartbeat. He felt drawn to it, like a moth to a flame, but fear wrestled with curiosity. The darkness surged forward, flickering with shadowy forms that swirled dangerously. Faces emerged, half-formed and twisted in agony. Each one seemed to scream silently, trapped between existence and oblivion. Do you see them? The souls who chose unwisely? The man's voice was a ghostly whisper now. They are caught here, forever bound by their decisions. This is your chance. Seize power, or become another shadow in the dark. Jamal felt tears welling, not just from fear but from the profound sense of loss around him. How could he make a choice that mattered when each seemed laced with dread? His mind raced, weighed down by thoughts of Aisha. Was she entangled in this dark fate too? The suitor stepped closer, extending a gloved hand, palm upward. It's simple. Grasp the emerald, and embrace your destiny. You can save her or do nothing and let the darkness claim you both. His pulse quickened, and the choice loomed like a thunderclap. Gripping the edge of the table, he looked into the man's eyes, searching for truth but finding only calculation. What will it be, Jamal? The room began to swirl, shadows dancing wickedly around him, pulling at his mind, urging him to decide. He drew in a breath, heart hammering. Could he trust this man? But then, a familiar voice echoed in the distance, overlapping with the haunting whispers. Jamal. Aisha. In that moment, clarity struck like lightning. As tendrils of darkness reached for him, Jamal grasped at the light ahead. I'll save her. Yet, as his fingers brushed against the emerald, everything blurred, and the familiar darkness swirled into a maelstrom, leaving him suspended, caught between worlds. What had he just awakened within himself? And at what cost? The echo of Aisha's voice drifted away. Could he truly save her, or had he unwittingly unraveled something much darker? Jamal felt his feet leaving the ground, weightlessly hanging between two vast realms. The emerald pulsed, a living heartbeat thrumming through the void, and his mind whirled. Each thrum echoed Aisha's name, and he reached out with desperate fingers, the sensation thrilling and terrifying. Hold on! He shouted into the chaos. The shimmering light pulled at him, but darkness swirled menacingly, hungry and insistent. Each shadow wrapped around his thoughts, and he was suffocating under the weight of ominous choices pressing down on him. As the power of the emerald surged in his palm, visions erupted within his mind. Flashes of memories he had never lived flickered like old film reels, glimpses of lavish parties, cloaked figures dancing under stars, the whispers of ancient languages weaving tales of sorrow and despair. More haunting were faces twisted in torment, crying for release, caught in a web of destinies they had chosen foolishly. Stop! Jamal's voice erupted as a jagged jolt tried to pull him further into the despair. Horror gripped his chest. He could hear shouts and laughter overlapping, but it felt like a cruel mockery. He was at the center of a storm, teetering on the edge of a deluge that threatened to sweep him away. The quiet intensity of the man's voice cut through. You've embraced a pathway, Jamal. Time bends for those who dare to redefine their fate. Claim the power of the emerald, or watch your beloved drown in darkness. His resolve wavered. Save Aisha? The idea felt like a beacon, yet the heavy shadows loomed, bringing whispers of warning. What was this terrifying pact he had entered? The emerald glowed brighter, beckoning him to trust it. A flicker of anger ignited within. How dare this specter manipulate his choices? He clenched his jaw, determination igniting his spirit. I will not succumb to fear. He roared, and thrust his other hand toward the pulsating light, ready to defy the darkness. Just then, a flicker of clarity hit him, slicing through his determination. Aisha's face floated into view, her bright eyes brimming with unshed tears that mirrored his own. Jamal, please. she cried, her voice echoing as though she were shouting from another realm. His heart thudded painfully, the image haunting. She was out there, and he couldn't let his fear trap her too. In a surge of instincts fueled by both love and rage, he slammed the emerald down, shattering its hold on his will. "Release me!" he screamed, and the room exploded in light. Suddenly, he was jerked from the precipice, falling through endless layers of shadow. Jamal landed hard, gasping for breath, the weight of the world crashing back as he landed on cold, damp ground. The darkness faded, but the chill gnawed at him like icy fingers refusing to let go. Jamal looked around, bewildered. He found himself in a grand hall lit by flickering chandeliers, but remnants of the darkness lingered like smoke in the air. Shadows danced along the walls, hinting at figures lingering just out of view. Then, he saw her, a flash of a red dress, vibrant in the gloom. Aisha stood at the far end of the hall, looking frightened and unsure, surrounded by swirling shadows that lunged toward her, clawing for her presence. "Jamal!" she shouted, panic flooding her voice, and in that moment, he understood. The emerald's promise of power was still there, it would save her, but at a price he might not be willing to pay. He stood frozen, caught in a decision that loomed larger than him, each choice spiraling into an endless cycle of shadows. "Come to me." Her outstretched hand ignited something deep within him. But a chilling laughter enveloped the hall, echoing off the marble like a taunt. "Choose wisely, Jamal, because this is just the beginning." He had to act, but what path would lead him to her without dooming them both to the shadows? Time raced on, and the clock ticked louder with every heartbeat. Would he plunge into the emerald's depths, or find another way? What lay behind the veil of choice waiting for him? As Jamal took a tentative step forward, something flickered at the corner of his eye, the specter of hope battling against the grotesque shadows. The tension tightened, ready to snap. What would he decide, and where would it lead them? "Jamal!" Aisha's voice cut through the thick haze like a knife, crackling with the urgency of their shared despair. He took another step forward, heart pounding, desperation clawing at his insides. The darkness lurked just behind her, twisting and writhing, eager to ensnare her. "Stay back!" he shouted, though his voice trembled. He could feel the shadows pulsating like a living entity, and he knew they were waiting for his next move. "Aisha, don't let them touch you." His heart sank at her fearful expression, each second stretching painfully, as if time mocked his hesitation. The emerald's hold still flickered in his mind, an intoxicating whisper of power, promising salvation. But at what cost? "Jamal, please. I don't know how much longer I can hold them off." Her plea was a raw edge, piercing through the chaos. Each word ignited a fire within him, propelling him to act. He thrust his hands into the air, embodying both fear and determination. "I won't let them take you. I'll find a way, I swear." The emerald felt alive in his grasp, burning like a sun, and with that, he felt its allure draw him toward a hidden truth. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, a breathtaking wave of despair. Jamal's breath hitched as countless bleak faces emerged, eyes hollow, mouths twisted in silent screams. They reached out, fingers clawing toward him, desperate for release. Moments merged, foreboding his choice, and he felt the weight of an ancient curse hanging on his shoulders. In that stagnant air, clarity struck like a jolt of electricity. He could seize the power to save Aisha, but there was a gnawing doubt as a familiar voice echoed in his mind, "You are not your ancestors' mistakes." He had seen the burden of fate inflicted on those who sought the emerald's might, and he wouldn't repeat their errors. "Jamal!" Aisha's cry was sharper than a whip, snapping him back to reality. His legs moved before his mind fully processed. Somehow, he found himself sprinting toward her, weaving past the turbulent shadows that danced like hungry wolves in the moonlight. The emerald pulsed violently in his grip, begging to be unleashed. Just as he reached Aisha, the darkness fell around them like a suffocating shroud. Her hand was so close, trembling before him, radiant even among the malevolence. "Take my hand." The edges of the shadows clawed at his ankles, and he felt the cold tug them away, but with the emerald flaring, a sudden surge of warmth erupted from his core. "Together!" he shouted, and in one swift motion, he clasped her hand. An explosion of light erupted between them, and the shadows screeched, recoiling as if burned. Jamal, where she started, eyes wide with unmistakable hope. But the cacophony grew louder, the laughter that once echoed now becoming a frenzy of chaos. "You think you can choose love over destiny?" the disembodied voice mocked. Aisha's grip tightened on his hand. "We can't give in," she screamed, her expression fierce, but terror danced behind her eyes, and just like that, the ground beneath them seemed to shift. The wall started to spiral, and the chandeliers rattled as if warning them of an approaching storm. Jamal felt weightless and heavy at the same time, dimensions bending, as the shadows writhed angrily, swirling around like a vortex intended to consume them. "Aisha, keep holding on." "I'm not letting go, Jamal," she yelled. Yet even as victory surged through him, the shadows were relentless. They lashed out, grasping at Aisha, pulling her back into the darkness clutches. In that critical moment, Jamal saw something shimmer in the chaos, a glimpse of another world beneath the surface, what lay beyond the emerald's call. It whispered to him, sinuous and seductive. The temptation lingered, along with the grim shadow of what he could unleash. Would he dare dive into that abyss to unlock the true power of the emerald? What if that power unleashed a greater evil? Fury ignited in his chest, solidifying his resolve. "We're stronger together," he declared defiantly against the swirling tempest. But could love truly vanquish darkness? Aisha's eyes widened, and in that instant, he knew they were at a precipice. What choice would he make, and how far would he go to pull her back from the edge? As the world continued to collapse around them, Jamal felt the weight of destiny pressing against him, unwavering. But he was ready to plunge deeper. What terrors awaited them in the embrace of the emerald? Jamal felt the world around him twist as if caught in a cyclone of despair and dread. The shadows lunged forward, testing his resolve, each swipe like a clawed hand grazing against his skin. The emerald pulsed in his grip, a heartbeat matching his own, every beat thrumming with power and danger. "Aisha." The sheer volume of his voice drowned out the cacophony, desperation lacing every syllable. She was slipping, her fingers cool and fading against his grasp. "I want to let go." He tightened his hold, his heart racing alongside hers. The light between them grew brighter, illuminating the cold tendrils of darkness, but it wasn't enough. The shadows were relentless, weaving insidiously, whispering sweetly in tones that clawed at his reason. "Give and let the darkness save you both," they hissed, seductive and low. "I want to listen," Jamal shouted, pushing against the weight of despair. If he could just harness the emerald's might without falling prey to it, they could escape. "I'll find another way." A flash of uncertainty danced across Aisha's face. "What do you mean?" she gasped, eyes darting. "The emerald, it's tempting, Aisha. But we can't trust it." His mind raced, recalling the stories he had heard, cursed power that had consumed countless souls. Was it worth it? Her safety, or the devastation that could follow? "It can help us, Jamal. We have to try." Her voice cracked, breaking the tension like glass. A glimpse of her vulnerability tore at him. He saw her, not just his fierce love, but someone scared and tired, ready to fight but nearly out of time. The shadows loomed behind her, starved for her light. What was he willing to sacrifice to save her? Silencing the turmoil within, Jamal recalled the warmth that surged through him when they had clasped hands. "Okay. But we need to be one with it together." The emerald thrummed, almost singing to him now, its glow reflecting in Aisha's eyes. With a nod, they both drew closer, flinging their fears into the heart of the darkness. He could feel the pulse of the emerald intensify, its vibrant green illuminating the encroaching shadows. On three, he said with a steadiness he didn't truly feel. 1, 2, 3. In unison, they lifted the emerald between them, willing their hearts to merge with its ancient energy. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the power that radiated from their joined hands. The light bathed them both, pushing back against the darkness, igniting hope that surged through Jamal's veins. The shadows howled, a furious chorus of lost souls, as the ground shook violently beneath them. Energy crackled around them, a whirlwind of ethereal power, swirling and colliding with the agonizing cries. Jamal's vision fogged as an intoxicating presence enveloped him, drowning him in warmth, urgency, and peril. For a heartbeat, he felt time freeze, their future hanging in the balance. Could they break the curse that bound their fates, or would they be consumed by the very powers they sought to command? Then, a cold whisper broke through. It wasn't just darkness they faced. "You'll never escape. You're trapped by your own desires," it hissed. Suddenly, Aisha's shout cut through. "Jamal, the necklace. Use it." Her eyes locked on the emerald, desperate and searching. A flick of disbelief coursed through him. Her necklace? Did she really see a way through? But before he could respond, the shadows coiled around them again, vicious, wrapping tight like a serpent ready to strike. The emerald blazed with their resolve. Here it was, a choice he never wanted to make. What connection did Aisha's necklace have to the emerald's power? And what dire consequences awaited them both if he dared to act on it? Twisting uncertainty hung heavy in the air. What destiny awaited them if they pressed on, and would they brave the rapture or ruin that danced just beyond their reach? "Jamal. Focus." Aisha's voice sliced through the chaos, jolting him back. He could feel the weight of the emerald in his palm, hot and alive, yet the shadows encroached with an insatiable hunger. Aisha's urgency fueled a fire within him. "What about the necklace?" Jamal yelled, trying to throw the questions swirling in his mind into the void of darkness. "What does it do?" "It's a key to unlock the truth." She shouted back, each word a desperate plea. "Trust me." He glanced down at her necklace, a delicate chain with an intricate pendant, shimmering faintly even amidst the chaos. What truth? Was this the bridge between light and dark? As the shadows hissed and writhed, he knew the only path forward required a leap of faith. With trembling hands, Jamal unclenched the emerald, letting it hover just above the ground. The shadows shrieked, threatened by the absence of its power. "Whatever happens, hold on tight," he commanded, reaching for Aisha's necklace with determination. As his fingers brushed the pendant, a shock raced through him like electricity, alive and pulsing. The shadows shuddered as if sensing a seismic shift. For a brief moment, his mind opened, revealing visions, flashes of past owners, moments of despair and triumph, but mostly of darkness swallowing light whole. "Jamal!" Aisha cried out. He could feel her fear coiling around him like the shadows. "I see them, Aisha." He gasped. "I don't let it take you." She cried, her face a mask of fear and resolve. The emerald's glow flickered as reality warped around them, a kaleidoscope of memories, swirling taunts and shadows of defeated souls. Jamal felt himself being pulled into the abyss, the chilling whispers of despair lapping at his resolve. "Aisha." He breathed, heart thumping wildly. "We have to combine them." "Do it," she urged, her eyes locking onto his, filled with fierce determination. As Jamal joined their powers, there was an explosive surge. Light erupted from the necklace and the emerald, intertwining in a vortex of brilliant energy. The cacophony of shadows screamed, shockwaves rippling across the ground as their grip loosened, but in that moment of cathartic brilliance, a terrifying realization sliced through Jamal. "There's something dark in your necklace," he exclaimed, a chill sharpening his senses. "It's more than a key. It's connected to the darkness. Then we destroy it." Aisha yelled, her face wrought with agony. Jamal hesitated. "Is that what we should do? At what cost? I won't let it take us." Her voice was a lifeline, calling him back from the precipice of doubt. They were already entangled in the darkness, evolution was inevitable. He felt the weight of every choice pressing down on them. In synchronized fear and courage, they thrust the necklace and emerald deeper into the light. The shadows screamed once more, a symphony of hopeless souls resisting against the tide. An eruption of raw energy enveloped them in a blinding roar. As the chaos boiled around them, Jamal felt his heart plummet. A final push sent out a shockwave, exploding light in every direction, shattering the chains of darkness clawing at their souls. When the silence fell, it was profound. The air felt thick, the shadows now mere echoes of the past. Jamal staggered back, breathless, as he searched for Aisha in the blinding aftermath. Did it work? But there was no response. The space where she had been standing grew colder, the reality of a world without her almost unbearable. His heart raced with a new kind of panic. Had their choice cost them everything? Then, a fleeting flicker of hope caught his eye. The emerald lay there, pulsating in the shadows. The truth tethered to that cursed piece of jewelry still lingered. A thought anchored deep within him: if Aisha was lost to the shadows, then he would dive headfirst into the darkness if it meant finding her. Suddenly, the world rumbled once more. Doors of possibility swung open, but at what price? Would he risk it all to chase down the remnants of hope? What awaited him beyond the threshold of despair? The answers beckoned as the shadows shifted invitingly, whispering once more. But could he navigate the shadows alone? Jamal steadied himself, heart pounding like a war drum against his ribcage. The emerald pulsed in his palm, casting ghostly green light that danced over the remnants of shadows still lingering. He could feel the weight of despair all around him, thick and suffocating, but the glimmer in the emerald felt like the last flicker of hope in a dying fire. "Come on, Aisha," he whispered, feeling utterly alone. The world around him shifted, the air charged with energy as if it were alive and watching. He took a step forward. What if I get stuck in there? The thought clawed at him, but he brushed it aside. Aisha needed him. With determination, he approached the swirling shadows. An unsettling feeling crept through him, a buzz of anxiety that made his skin prickle. As he crossed the threshold, he was enveloped by darkness. Hesitant whispers surrounded him, pricking at his resolve. Before him, figures flitted in and out of view. Faces etched in sorrow, with glimpses of hope trapped behind dark, hollow eyes. Each shadow seemed to beckon him deeper. "Jamal, find us," they murmured, their voices entwining into a haunting chorus. "Aisha!" he shouted, voice rising above the din. "Where are you?" The shadows twisted, molding into a singular, ghastly shape. An echo of Aisha's form materialized, but something felt off. A glint of her necklace caught his attention. The pendant now appeared monstrous, swirling with chaotic energy. "Is that you?" Jamal, the voice, laced with temptation, was both her and something else entirely. "Join me, the light is not the answer." "No," he retorted, battling against the pull of despair as it gripped harder. "You're not Aisha. You can't be." The shadow shifted, revealing a glimpse of her true essence, a flicker of the warm, vibrant girl he'd known. There it was, the heart, the laughter, the kindness. "You have to believe, Jamal. In me. In us." He lunged towards that flicker, reaching into the blackness with desperation. The emerald in his hand blazed with renewed intensity. It was now or never. "I know you're still in there," he shouted. "I won't give up." The dark mass writhed, pulling at him like a riptide. Voices yammered, tempting him with visions of power, revealing what he could gain: wealth, fame, and all he had ever dreamed of. "You could be a king, Jamal, if you just stop fighting." They jeered, but beneath the weight of those offers lay an undeniable truth. Aisha had shown him a different kind of richness, of friendship, of light. "No. I will not be lured by shadows," he roared, clenching the emerald tight as if in response, the darkness around him convulsed. Bright strands of light pierced through the gloom, igniting the shadows with bursts of color. Aisha! I need you to fight! Jamal cried, desperately hoping she could hear him. Suddenly, the shimmering light exploded all around him, and he was thrown backward. The emerald still clenched in his hand, pulsed with ferocity, urging him onward. He had to push through. With newfound determination, he took a deep breath and dove into the abyss again, this time not to search mindlessly, but to confront. The shadows flickered around him, more frantic, as if sensing his intent. You think you can defy us? They hissed. Jamal charged forward, igniting the emerald's energy like a beacon. I may be scared, but I am not weak. In that moment of clarity, he remembered Aisha's warmth, her courage. He could almost feel her presence strong, steady. We'll face this together. He shouted into the darkness. A blinding flash erupted as the two energies, light and dark, clashed. The shadows screamed, twisting, writhing, collapsing in on themselves as raw energy surged around Jamal. Then, silence fell again. He stumbled, breathless. The air around him changed, now lighter, but the shadows were still close, waiting for a moment of weakness. Aisha! His voice trembled again, heart racing as he scanned his surroundings. Where are you? As some shadows retreated, an eerie stillness replaced the storm. But one thought struck him cold: what if this was just a trap? A whisper echoed from the darkness, warm as honey yet chilling to the bone. Everything you fear is real, Jamal. Will you accept it, or will you fight? A shiver ran down his spine, chilling him to the bone. The choice was looming, sharper than ever. He took a breath, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. But what choice would lead him to Aisha? What would he have to sacrifice to bring her back? As the shadows churned around him again, Jamal steeled himself for a harrowing truth. In this battle of light and darkness, was hope itself a collateral loss? Jamal's heart raced in his chest as he stood amid the swirling shadows, the emerald pulsating fiercely against the encroaching dark. The whispers filled his ears, spinning webs of doubt around his mind. Yet, with each echo, a mantra resounded through his thoughts: I won't give up. The silence that had fallen was unsettling, almost mocking. It felt like the calm before a storm. He could sense that the shadows were regrouping, lurking just out of sight, biding their time. Aisha, he whispered, the word barely escaping his lips, laden with desperation. Then, a flicker of movement caught his eye, a shimmer through the darkness that momentarily pried open another door to hope. I'm coming! He shouted again, trying to summon enough courage to plunge deeper. The emerald's glow intensified, illuminating a path strewn with echoes of anguish and glimpses of what once was. Before him rose a massive shadow, more defined and menacing than the others, its shape grotesque and tumultuous. Jamal felt an unbearable sense of dread wash over him. You think you can just take her back? It sneered, voice dripping with malice. This darkness has her now. You are nothing without the shadows. No. I'm everything with Aisha. Jamal shot back, his voice hoarse but resolute as the emerald responded, blazing with fiery light in his grip. The air around him thickened, the once muted darkness pressing against him like an unyielding wall. Shadows crawled closer, their fingers brushing against his skin, chilling him to the bone. But Jamal could feel the warmth of hope fighting back. I believe in her. He shouted defiantly. I believe in us. With fervor, he surged forward, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The monstrous shape lurched at him, dark tendrils reaching out, grasping for his essence. Jamal barely dodged its grasp, heart racing, mind on fire. You can't have me! He cried, forcing the light outward in a protective blaze. The shadows howled, retreating briefly. You think this is just about you, boy? The voice reverberated, shaking the ground beneath him. What makes you so special? What will you sacrifice to save her? The question lodged itself in his heart like an ice-cold dagger. What would he give up? Everything? His freedom? His very soul? Aisha had always filled him with strength, the thought of losing that fought against the fear wrapping around his heart. I will do anything, he shouted. I'll trade my fears, my regrets, whatever it takes. With those words, the darkness roared with laughter, a cacophony that reverberated through the abyss. A noble offer, but the cost may be heavier than you can bear. It taunted. The shadows paused, swirling around him, seemingly calculating his resolve. Illuminated again by the emerald's fierce glow, he could see fleeting images, fragments of memories, the good moments he shared with Aisha, her laughter driving the darkness away. Everything they had built together surged through him like a wave. I would give my last breath for her. He screamed into the chaos. Suddenly, the monstrous shadow lunged forward, extending its tendrils in a ferocious attack. Jamal dove to the side, narrowly avoiding capture. He steadied himself, the air buzzing, the stakes climbing higher. The shadows flickered, their forms uncertain, wavering between solidity and vapor. Then, he felt it, a shift in the air, like a gasp, then a heartbeat. Somewhere amidst the shadows, a flicker of light sparked again, something illuminating the depths beyond the veil of darkness. Aisha! He called, searching for her, his voice ringing through the suffocating void, and as the light began to grow, so did a whispered promise from deep within the shadows. You've chosen your path, Jamal. Will you regret what must happen next? Tension clawed at his insides. Panic surged. What do you mean? The darkness rippled ominously, a harbinger of the danger lurking close. Jamal stood at the threshold. Would he step back into safety or charge into the unknown for Aisha? The chilling silence twisted around him once more, humming with potential chaos. What was the price of light? How far was he willing to go to save her, and what would the night demand in return? He took a breath, bracing for whatever would come. As the shadows seemed to congeal into one menacing force, Jamal clenched the emerald tight, his defiance boiling beneath the surface. Bring it on, he said resolutely, ready to face the haunting truth. For this wasn't just about fighting shadows anymore. This was about facing the darkest parts of himself. Would he be able to rescue Aisha? Or would confronting the depths take him entirely out of the light for good? The shadows loomed, thick like a storm cloud, swirling with menace and despair. Jamal stood at the center, heart pounding with a raw urgency, the emerald's glow illuminating his resolve. Aisha! He shouted, the sound echoing against the oppressive darkness. He felt her call echoing back, a promise lost and found in the depths. With a surge of energy, Jamal thrust the emerald high, its light piercing through the blackness. I will not give you up, he bellowed, determination igniting a fire within. The shadows recoiled, hissing and swirling, their discontent palpable. In that moment, Jamal felt himself expand outward, as if every inch of his being pledged to the light and to Aisha. From the depths, a monstrous form twisted and writhed. You think you can defy the dark? It sneered, eyes gleaming with malice. You are but a boy, blinded by love and foolishness. Jamal stood tall, squared his shoulders, and felt the emerald pulse in his hand, a heartbeat in rhythm with his own. Love is the strongest weapon I have, he declared, pressing forward. The ground beneath him trembled as shadows lashed out, but Jamal summoned every ounce of hope and love for Aisha, merging it with the emerald's power. You will never take her from me. The figure shrieked, a cacophony of sound that shook the very ground they stood on. But Jamal didn't waver. He focused on Aisha's laugh, her warmth, the light they created together. He closed his eyes, letting the memory wash over him. I know you're in there, Aisha, he whispered into the chaos. Fight with me. In the depths of the swirling void, a glimmer caught his eye. Aisha's form flickered between the shadows, painfully close yet unreachable. Jamal! She cried, anguish and defiance interwoven in her plea. You have to save us. I know. He shouted, steadied by her words. Let us end this together. We'll fight. With a fierce roar, Jamal thrust the emerald forward, a beacon against the dark. The shadows shrieked and writhed, retreating from the light that enveloped him. They twisted and turned as if in agony, trying to pull him back down, but he surged ahead, instincts ablaze. Let our love be the light. He yelled, vision narrowing on Aisha. The emerald blazed fiercely, casting warm light across the hall. The shadows recoiled and splintered under its power, fragmenting into mere wisps. Together. He shouted, and as if summoned from far away, Aisha's presence surged beside him, her fingers intertwining with his. The warmth of their joined hands ignited an electric pulse that lit up the darkness. The shadows screeched, a horrendous sound of lost souls. You dare challenge the darkness? They snarled and swirled, crawling towards them. We dare. Aisha cried, her voice cutting through their despair. We refuse to be their prisoners. Jamal and Aisha held tight, the emerald-esque glow intensifying as it merged with their fierce will. Suddenly, from the depths of shadow, a fissure opened a crack in the darkness of possibilities. Go now. The darkness roared, desperate to maintain its grasp. You cannot escape what is destined. In that moment, Jamal felt an overwhelming pull, urging him to retreat, to abandon this fight, but he wouldn't. He and Aisha had crafted their own destiny. They stood not just as individuals but as a united force blazing against the dark. A rapid flicker of light pierced through the fractures, vibrant and fiery, a connection that linked heart to heart. Together. He shouted, launching the shimmering emerald towards the fractured darkness, into the very heart of despair. A blinding explosion of color erupted in that moment, a tidal wave of light engulfing everything, shredding the darkness, disintegrating the shadows. No! The darkness howled, a sound filled with rage and fear. As Jamal closed his eyes against the radiant brilliance, the release felt electric, like breath after suffocation. When the light began to fade and silence fell, Jamal opened his eyes. He stood amidst a radiant, empty space, devoid of shadows. Aisha was there, faces illuminated, her eyes glowing brighter than he remembered. She was safe. Jamal? She whispered, voice trembling with disbelief and joy. The world around them felt vibrant, warm, as they stepped closer. The shadows had dissipated, swirling away like mist under the sun. Together we broke it, Jamal breathed, overwhelmed by relief. They had faced the darkness and emerged. They were free, together. No longer were they bound by the weight of ancient pacts, instead, they held the promise of new beginnings. However, the world hummed with renewal around them. Jamal realized that darkness would remain, the echoes of what had been were reminders of their resilience and strength. They had forged a path through the unknown, and from that moment, he could feel the power of their love resonating, anchoring him against uncertainty. Let us go home, he said softly. Aisha smiled, that same spark igniting in her eyes. Yes. Wherever we are together feels like home. As they walked forward into the glimmering dawn that awaited them, Jamal knew one thing for sure: he would always choose the light. This was not just the end, it was a new beginning, a story still weaving, filled with endless possibilities. Now, this is your moment to step into an even greater adventure. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will take you further into captivating worlds. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and let us keep this community growing. Flood the comments section with your reactions, your theories, and your own thoughts on Jamal and Aisha's journey. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Join us on this epic adventure together.